My mother enthralls. I don't think my mother has ever stood in front of a microphone, but she takes center stage in our living room, surrounded by neighbors and friends and cousins and uncles and aunties, all in rapt attention, captivated by her stories. Amma sits back on the divan, sipping Merlot from a teacup, and her audience's chortles resound down the hallway. Scheherazade, the queen from the Arabian Nights, she rips out a new cliffhanger night after night to woo a kingdom into keeping her alive, but even Scheherazade doesn't have a thing on my mother. Amma dresses in zari-threaded silk saris and rhinestone heels, and gold and emerald peacocks perch on her wrists, and every gaze is upon her, and she is in her element. Eyes tear up, bellies are in stitches. Amma's words make me understand what mirth is. I won't deliver Amma's tales here. This is my story, not hers. But regardless of the narrative, Amma's always the protagonist. Which is great because she loves the attention. Even everyday conversations with Amma are excellent. She has a way with words, and it is effortless and incisive. And when I grow up, I want to do that. I want to be like her. I want to make magic with words, create laughter from dust. When my sister was about 2, Amma had taught her a little call and response. We'd get Isha to attention the way you ask a dog to sit before showing off all the tricks it knows. She'd say, "What's your name?" "Isha." "Where did you come from?" "Balaji shop." "How much did you cost?" ₹2. It was silly, but it was a hoot. Guests loved it. As Isha grew older, she never questioned the veracity of this bought from the corner shop story, and Amma kept building on it. She'd say, "Why was it only ₹2? They had a sale." "Why did we buy you?" "Appa felt bad for me." A hoot. I had a made-up adoption story too. Amma liked to say that I'd been given up by a local fisherman's family. She'd say, "They had so many kids, 9 kids. So they said, please, just take this one." And that's what I learned about where I came from. This year, Amma's father, my grandfather, died. At his funeral, with tears dripping down her nose, Amma said, "Great, how can he die? Now I have to schedule even more therapy." My mother, even in despair, has great comedic timing. Happy or sad, anxious or bored, Amma has a joke at the ready. When I'm anxious, I walk, I run. I want to move. I think that's why I like New York City, lots of walking. Good for someone who's always tense. I was visiting my friends there last summer, exploring old haunts, sipping Shiraz from a styrofoam teacup at 3 p.m., as you do. That's when I saw my first spotted lanternfly, perched on the sidewalk on the cusp of urban shadow and afternoon sunbeam. The spotted lanternfly, stunning insect. It looks like a bejeweled moth in an ermine shawl. The spotted lanternfly looks like a wealthy dowager who owns an apartment on the Upper East Side. One of those buildings with the security guards downstairs, the concierge. When it's flitting through the grimy city streets, the lanternfly looks almost misplaced, like it was born for better neighborhoods. Wikipedia will tell you that lanternflies are brown and red. But I have eyes, and the wiki page is wrong. Its wings are the warmest ash and the brightest crimson, animal print and dazzle of color. A bright gem against the asphalt, it steps out into the sun, takes center stage. I loved the lanternfly immediately. My mother is oodles of fun, but when my mother has an audience of just one, just me, she will cut me down for the hell of it. I'm both joke and accomplice. She has a way with words that is fluid and effortless and incisive, and she will cut me down for the joke, and my eyes tear up and my belly aches from the pain. They had too many kids, 9 kids, she's saying, wiping away tears of joy. I'm standing before her, 4 years old, crying. She's laughing. Please, Ma, please, I don't want to be adopted. Tears stream down my 4-year-old face. Well, too bad, she shrugs. I can send you back whenever I want. No, Ma, we're having this conversation on a weekend afternoon. She's bored. She's toying with me. No, Ma, please. I don't want to be adopted. I want to be with you. I shake my head mutely, still weeping. I lean in for a hug. Amma deigns to hold me. I love her anyway. I think she likes having someone to lord over, Amma does. She likes the rush of power. Ultimately, Amma is always the protagonist. The spotted lanternfly is flitting all over the news, on CNN, on BBC. It was an accidental import into the US. It's a danger to grape trees and lumber. It's invasive. It's taking over the East Coast. It's traveling west. Fruit trees are its bitch. The spotted lanternfly is like a cockroach, but worse. Animal print and dazzle of color, spots, stripes, and warning signs. The spotted lanternfly is so beautiful that even the Department of Agriculture will attest to its charm. Their website, unexpectedly dramatic. It is an insect with spectacular coloring, but that beauty comes with a cost. The recommended procedure, they say, is to squish it on sight, stomp underfoot. I love the lanternfly anyway. When I'm about 7, my mother loses a thin gold chain my dad has given her. She's worried that he will be mad when he finds out. Say you lost it, she pleads. He won't be mad at you. And I agree because it's true. I can protect her. So when Dad comes home from work, I tell him that I was playing with the necklace, that I took it outside, that I lost it on the playground. My dad sighs. He is disappointed, but he is understanding. It looks like we've resolved it, but Amma chimes in. Careless fool girl. She loses everything. You should be more careful, my dad agrees. We shouldn't send her on that field trip next week, my mother says, vindictive. You're right, my dad agrees. She's foolish. I stand mute, surprised, betrayed by my mother, uncertain about how I'm suddenly being punished for a crime I did not commit, but a crime I did admit to. The story has gotten away from me. When Amma feels threatened, I think she weaves stories and spins yarns out of desperation. Will catch just about whoever flies into her web. Amma likes the safety of power, and her powerless daughters probably seem an easy target. Even when the yarn is about me, Amma is still the protagonist. Amma moved from her father's home to her husband's. She was always performing a role, acting to please. Scheherazade told tales to survive one night after the next, because storytelling makes you interesting, it keeps you valuable. We do what we need to adapt. I wonder whether Amma is trying to do the same thing her analog did, to justify being treated well, kept safe for another day, whatever the circumstances. The lanternfly is an accidental import into the US. It raises trees only because it's doing what it needs to survive. Adapting, but perhaps too well for its own good. Amma grew up powerless, but found attention through words, power through her humor. When she didn't seem to matter as a person, at least her words could make her count. And now that my grandfather has passed, Amma feels like she can't make amends, of course. She's probably going to be in therapy for the rest of forever. The Department of Ag might say that squishing underfoot is the only solution to the problem of an imperfect, over-optimized existence. I think it's relevant to mention that when the lanternfly's surroundings do cater to its needs, it fits in, it thrives. It doesn't decimate trees so much as just eat leaves to sustain itself. It takes up space, and there is no unkindness involved. It continues to be beautiful. Amma tells me that in therapy, today, she is learning that she has some traits that she doesn't like in herself. I do not feel it in my heart, she says, But sometimes I say things just to hurt people. Today, Amma has an ache in her knee and her health isn't what it used to be. But when we FaceTimed last month, she put on her reading glasses and penciled notes into a legal pad to keep track of the things I was saying, and then she read them back out to me and said, "Is that right? Have I understood it correctly?" And she had, in fact, understood me correctly, and so I teared up. Sometimes Amma will say, "Can we talk about this another time? I'm tired and I don't want to say something I don't mean." I'll be fucked. My mom is learning boundaries. We've all been crying more lately, but Amma used to cry because we felt sad. Amma and I used to cry because we felt sad or angry. And now we cry because we're being brave. The spotted lanternfly is also acclimating to its new life. Entomologists have found that the insect will feed on a tree for a couple of years, then move to the next tree, while the first tree regains its vigor. There's a system. They say the lumber crop is going to be just fine. We only need to plan around it. Amma is the softest gray, the brightest red. She has a way with words, and it is effortless and incisive, and I also want to do that. I want to make magic. Amma still enthralls people at parties, and if she says something hurtful now, then she slows down and says, "I'm sorry," and she tries to make it right. She holds Merlot-filled teacup between thumb and forefinger and holds all of this healing between descendant and forefather. And when I sit, drinking now stale wine out of styrofoam, I stop and I stare. It is the prettiest thing, this lanternfly, flitting from shadow to sunbeam, from concrete pavement to open sky. There is a world in which my mother can thrive.
Give it up for